Hi, welcome back, you beautiful souls, to the start of a new series. And, well, many of you chose for MHA, but with the release of the Sarah Kerrigan being in it, I need to write the story because the quirks that I would have would be extremely similar, and have to write the story. And I haven't really put much thought in it, but I've already had part of this one already scripted. Sorry. Sorry about that. So this will be What If I Was in Naruto? That being said, this is going to be it's going to be an OC that I made. I'm not going to have knowledge of the Naruto verse, unlike with the other series that I will be releasing maybe next week or the week after. But with that being said, let's get into this. So our story starts one night many years before the start of the anime, before episode 1. This is during the time when there's still wars and everything, and Minato is still a Chunin slash Jonin. Like I didn't really find too much information about when he was like a Jonin and everything. So it's during that time, during when there were still wars slash conflicts and stuff going on with the Leaf and others. So that being said, so one night during like this, two meteors can be saw streaking across the sky of a battlefield, and they crash in the middle of it. Two figures crawl out of the craters. They are attacked for them, and like the members of the Leaf who saw them thought that they were enemy combatants, because they literally had these creatures literally just appeared in the middle of battle. They're fighting enemy forces, and these things look weird. So they're attacked. So then the two Leaf shinobi are going at these two, and the two creatures begin to speak a weird language. The female creature says, "My love, it seems these creatures are like our kind used to be. Maybe they're not. Maybe they don't know the threat they'll face. Yes, our mission is to appraise their species. If they have any merit, we are to help them, to defend their world. Yes, the wretched Tsuki will pay for their crimes. If only our old enemy, the Protoss, were still around, we could have defeated them on our home world. Stupid ancients and their war." So, this is these two individuals, as many of you can surmise, are Zerg. They're evolved Zerg. They have personalities, they have emotions, they have their own needs and wants outside of their the base Zerg nature of killing and evolving. Like killing and stealing other people's powers to evolve and gaining the power of other Zerg. The Zerg species is eons old, probably just as old as the Otsuki, older than the Otsuki themselves, at least in this universe. So the two Leaf Shinobi that had attacked them, like, kind of are getting off put by this because the two, like, these creatures seem to be intelligent. What's going on? So then the male begins to, like, actually look, like, trying to communicate with him, with this individual whose eyes are, like, glowing red. And the dude, and this is a Uchiha, like a nameless Uchiha, so that we don't complicate the stories. And he it doesn't seem like it can be affected by genjutsu. And then the Hugo says, yeah, and they don't have chakra. They don't have any chakra points. Like, they have pressure points, but they have no chakra. But they're strong and they're weird looking. What are they? And as the female Zerg, like hyper evolved Zerg, is trying to speak to him, she says, "My love, why don't we just? Well, they did attack us, so let's just go ahead and kill them." And with that, the two produce these tendrils coming out of, like, their heads, and the two creatures then proceed to kind of eat these two individuals. In a sense, basically, they jab the tendrils into their bodies, basically consuming their biomass and killing them, and somewhat stealing their power. Not like they're not gaining the Byakugan or the Sharingan, but they're gaining, like, knowledge of the world. And then from the distance, other people can see these two creatures begin, like, what they had done, and they begin to, like, to change and morph. Like, their features start to become more human. And after everything is said and done, the two individuals look at each other, like, mortified at, like, what they had done, because they gained the knowledge of what was happening, and they're like, we could have, they were just defending themselves. And the female that says, "My love, you're speaking their language." And then she stops herself. She's like, we've got to get out of here. They're going to be coming after us. We probably just made an enemy of their species. They do have, and they don't know anything about, at least the individual that I gained knowledge from they don't have any knowledge of the Yatsuki. So over the years, these two individuals will be traveling the planet. They decide to leave this land and go to the far reaches of the world so that they can grasp, like, their new powers and abilities, because them practically consuming the very essence and knowledge of the two individuals kinda gave them chakra. Didn't really give them a chakra nature, but they still have this weird energy that they can feel inside of them, kinda robust, making their other abilities more robust. And right here, this is where I'm going to break down their species abilities. So obviously they have tendrils that they can produce that come out of their hair, that their hair kind of morphs into, and they can consume. And, well, consume isn't the right word, but it's the best one to say, because I don't like drinking would be more apt, but it just doesn't sound right when you say it. They are also able to harden certain parts of their bodies at will, but they can't do like full body. Though with the abilities gained with chakra, it's more pronounced and more robust. They even noticed over the years that their general durability had increased. And they begin to think just like, huh, so that's what the Atsuki are after. Their species is no different than ours. Yes, my dear, we definitely gotta help protect this world. But we're nowhere near strong enough to fight one of those damn monsters. And I just thought about that. That's kind of funny, a Zerg calling another species a monster. Whew. So, they also have different unique abilities. One, like, some Zerg can have size manipulation and they can morph their bodies into, like, a much larger creature. Some have the ability to produce wings, like Sarah Kerrigan in this photo. Some have the abilities to throw spikes out of, like, their back. Basically, kind of like how their hair morphs, like these two tails, one tail or two tails kind of morph out of their back, and they kind of throw spikes with them. Some produce these elongated like claws that are on their arms or upper extremities. And some have extremely extreme speed and everything. But the baseline Zerg, all Zerg have the natural ability to produce these tendrils that allow them to consume other beings and creatures, and basically it's a part of how their basic biology works. And the different aptitudes are just generational things from old evolutionary lines. Some can even fly without wings, but that is more rare than most because that bloodline is pretty much extinct. And so now we're going to have a time skip to about a month after Minato becomes Hokage. He's having a walk through the forest near Konoha, and he starts hearing something. And as he makes his way closer and closer to this noise, he begins to notice that it's a baby crying. So he began with a little bit more being a little bit more invigorated to investigate. He starts running towards like this crying baby. Upon getting there and he starts to investigate, Minato is appalled at what he sees. He sees two people, like an adult male and an adult female, like two corpses. And I say that in quotations because of a little something that will happen a little bit later. The man he notices is missing an arm and has spikes piercing his back, like chakra rods, kind of like going through his back and everything. And the woman has her arm around a child, gripping in her other hand, which is covered in blood, a kunai. When he gets closer, he realizes the woman has wounds on her back as well, and that the man has like his other hand gripping a scroll, like a death grip on the scroll. It also seems that the woman, she actually cut the child out of her stomach. As he picks up the baby, he notices the child has weird eyes. They're yellow with kind of reverse cat like irises. You know how a cat goes horizontal? Well, the eyes are diagonal. So Minato tries to see if there's a ninjutsu placed on the area, and nothing, no traps, no nothing. So before he picked up the child, he made sure this wasn't a trap, because they are kind of at war, but things have gotten more peaceful after he took over Hokage, because he's started to lessen the strands with the other villages. Albeit there's still issues, just it wasn't as bad as when he was a kid. Let's just say that. And as he picks up the baby, he notices the baby is literally just staring at him. Like, literally staring him eye to eye. And then Minato is shocked because he starts to hear a cough. And he notices this is the male kind of waking up, and he kind of jumps back. And he looks at it, and he's like, Minato, that you're Minato, right? You're the fourth Hokage of the Leaf. Correct. And Minato's like, yeah, I just became the fourth Hokage. What happened? Me and my wife, we were attacked. Well, we were gonna die, and I had to sacrifice my arm so that our child could be born early. He wasn't supposed to be born for another year. I'm sorry, but I must ask you. In this scroll, it'll explain everything. Please, don't take our actions of the past and place them on our child. Please. He's the hope of your planet. He's the only one that can stop them now. We tried. We could have stopped this from happening, but we would have had to kill him. And we took a vow never taking another human life. Please, I beg you, don't kill our child, as the man reaches out, dropping the scroll. Naruto picks up the scroll, and he's baffled at what he says. He immediately opens the scroll, and it immediately says, to whoever finds this, if this makes it to the Lord Fourth of the Leaf Village, and if you're the one that found us, burn our bodies, get rid of our bodies, don't let anyone examine us. We are not from this planet. We come from a far distant one. Our child, he'll probably grow up without us if you're reading this. But please, take care of him. Raise him to be able to protect this world. And it just trails off, and then it says, when he's ready, when you believe the child is ready, have him slice his hand and place his hand on this scroll, and everything else will be revealed. And after he finished reading that, and he notices the text on the scroll disappear. And when he rolls it back up, he notices that a seal appeared on it. And he was like, huh. So Minato's standing there, and he's shocked about what he just read, because he found out that these two individuals apparently are from a different world, and they killed Leaf Shinobi in the past, but Minato can kind of understand why. And he's like, he looks down at this baby and he's like, who could want to kill a child for something that their parents did? Something that they had that was completely out of their control. No one deserves that. Well, I am the fourth Hokage. So, as the scroll suggested, Minato, he burns the body, basically incinerating them there. And when his Abu Guard finally catch up to him, they see him standing next to a pyre. And they see Minato have, like, with a baby in his hands, and they begin to question him. And he's like, this child's orphans. Oh, Kushina, she's gonna kill me. Oh, I don't think she was wanting to become a mom any sooner. But needless to say, this child, we're going to be taking him in. And no one needs to find out about this. You got that, Kakashi? As Minato kind of is like staring off into the woods, and Kakashi kind of gulps, because he's like, yes, Sensei, no one will find out about this. Though Minato's gonna have a hard time explaining how he has a baby. Basically, what he tells everyone but Kushina, because he actually will tell her the full story. And on his way back to the village, he notices the baby is still just kind of staring at him, just literally looking at him. And Minato just kind of smiles at him, and then he notices that the child kind of smiles back at him. And Minato begins to think, just like, can you understand me, little one? And the child kind of smiles at him again, just kind of staring at him with the weird yellow eyes. And he begins to think back on what the child's parents looked like. They had weird structures on, like, their arms and legs and their body. Kind of like scales, but not scales. And he begins to think, is like, could those two have been the two shinobi that were from, like, an unknown village, or independent shinobi that interfered with that battle ages ago? They have to be. And he's thinking about this. He's thinking of, like, what he's actually going to do with this child. Because apparently the two adults were on their way to make peace with the Leaf, and to kind of maybe have an alliance. In the fact that they are entrusting their child to the Leaf, Minato thinks is like, well, we've got to do this. It wasn't a genjutsu. And before everything, he does have like specialists ahead, kind of do some diagnostics on the child, and it's a perfectly normal baby except for, like, its yellow eyes. So after the doctors say that the child is healthy, and they give Minato a once over because, yeah, finding a child and then hearing that he found the child amongst like two corpses, they kind of want to make sure that he doesn't have anything that they know of. So after a few days of like the child being under observation and Minato being under observation too, along with the Anbu and Kakashi himself, they give everyone a clean bill of health and nothing is to really worry about. So after Kushina comes in, Minato's holding like a baby because she heard that Lord Forth had found a child in the woods. And she was concerned because they had been put under quarantine for a couple of days just for observation. And once Kushina comes into the room, he tells the Ambu guards there to give him and his wife some privacy. And as soon as everyone leaves, including the medical staff, he puts up a barrier so that no one can hear what he's about to tell. And he tells Kushina like the entire story about what he read in the scroll and who this child's parents were, and she's shocked at this. She's like, "So, Minato dear, what are you gonna do with this child?" And then Minato looks at Kushina and she's like, "Well, we have been talking about starting a family, and I thought maybe putting the child in an orphanage, but if who this child's parents were, I think the best bet is for us to raise it. Maybe not as our own, but for us to personally take care of the child. And besides, it seems like it's pretty intelligent. It seems like it understands what we're saying." And Kushina looks down at the baby and she's like, "Oh, how could a baby like understand this?" And the baby, like, he kind of reaches up and grabs her finger and kind of looks her in the eyes and then like smiles, and it's like, and her heart just like kind of melts, and she's like, "No, you're right. We should be the ones to take care of this." And it's like, "Huh? I thought it would take more." And she's like, Who could throw a baby out like this? Besides, if what you say is true, then we definitely would have to be the ones to personally take care of him." I mean, isn't that the job of the Hokage to take care of the village? And as your Jinchuriki, it's my job to be the weapon. And what better place if this baby turns out to be a threat than to be next to the one thing that could definitely stop it? And when she says this, it kind of says, "Okay, dear, I get the point. Because she wasn't saying that in a mean way. She was more saying that in like a sort of flirtatious way, kind of like a couple thing. So Minato informs the elders about the situation with the child, not really the whole story, that he found a child that was with corpses, and there's no Genjutsu, there's nothing at play, and from what the doctors have said, the child is definitely kind of normal, but he has a weird dojutsu, or he has a weird, God, one moment, I've got to look up the name of that term. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's a dojutsu. Just a simple dojutsu. Okay. And he's going to take full responsibility of this child, And he tells them what better place for this child to be taken care of than by the Hokage himself in the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. And they began to say, this child shouldn't be near you, Lord Fourth. And he's like, yes, but if the child does end up being a threat, who better to like deal with it than the two most powerful ninja currently in the league, the Hokage and the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. Kind of playing like the Hokage and the Jinchuriki card with them, and they kind of seed on this. And so I'll grow up knowing I'll spend about a year before the events of the anime living with Minato and Kushina, not really calling them mom and dad, more like calling them aunt and uncle, because after about 3-4 months, when I begin to walk and everything, I actually begin to speak before that. And I say, in the first word I say to Minato once, like, he's like feeding me, and he wipes my face and everything, and he says, I say, thank you. And Minato looks at the baby, and he's like, did you just talk? And the baby says, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And like begins to like laugh. And Kushi, like a groan can be heard like from like the day from like in the bathroom. And Kushida is like Bart, it has morning sickness, and she comes out and she's like, what is it, dear? Why are you screaming thank you? And then she looks over and she sees me not actually talking, and it's the baby saying thank you, and she gets super excited. It's speaking. Maybe, wait, then it's definitely smart then. It's not even walking yet. He's not even walking yet. So they say, Kushina says, yo, she's speaking. He actually he's talking now? Yeah, but it seems like he can only say thank you right now. Isn't that right, little one? And he like kind of pokes like the baby's nose. And she's like, oh, well, at least we know he can speak. So a couple more months pass. Kushina like starts to actually show, and that morning is when like they thought like Kushina like just was sick, and later that day they find out they're pregnant with Naruto. So over the next year in the pregnancy, I begin to develop, not in size, but abilities and walking around much faster than a human. And it's just thinking in the back of his mind like, oh, this is weird. The first alien our world has ever seen, and it looks so human, but when it gets angry or when its emotions flare up, he just thinks, he's like, oh, yeah, that night was very difficult. And because Yavush, or me, begins to exhibit weird abilities, like Yavush begins to sometimes sprout wings, and then as soon as he sprouts them, like, they go back away. His hair begins to morph in and out of normal hair, like a normal black hair color, to like tendrils. His body like randomly like starts to like the chest starts to have chest armor, like bone structures form, bone-like structures form all over the chest and arms and legs. In the face, like, sometimes morphs to a completely different shape. And one day, about 2 months before Naruto is born, Minato sits me down, and begins to like ask me some questions. He's like, Yosh, do you know who your real parents are? And Yosh says, yeah, mom cut me out of her stomach, and well, I didn't understand at the time, but it's weird. It's all fuzzy as Yarosh puts his hand to as I put my hand to my head. It's all fuzzy, like something's blocking it out. Like, I remember meeting you the day I was born, but I don't remember what was said. I'm sorry, Uncle Minato. I can't answer it. So Minato's like thinking, I was like, could it? And he can tell I wasn't telling a lie. So he then asked me, it's like, do you want to learn a few ninjutsus? I think I can help. I think there's something you might find very hilarious. So the next couple months, he starts showing me a few things, and one of the things I asked a few viewers on Discord if I should learn during the short time that I was with Minato, the Shadow Clone Jutsu. Because I'm not sure if it's an Ambu thing or if Kakashi copied it from someone. Like an enemy combatant, but that wouldn't make any sense. Like, I think he actually learned it from Minato when he became a Jonin. Or no. Because... yeah, he became... well, at least after he became a Guinea. A Chunin. After he became a Chunin. I think that's probably when Minato would have taught him that. And because from my understanding, you wouldn't be able to copy the Rasengan. You would, because it's not really a jutsu. It's more of just chakra control. That's literally what it is just your own chakra control. So I think that Minato taught Kakashi because he showed the promise of it. And, well, we may have seen him use it a few times. And, like, no, I'm not going to know the Rasengan, just the Shadow Clone Jutsu. Because I would have the same issues that Naruto has, being that chakra isn't natural with our species. And it's not something that regularly occurs on, like, the home world of, like, the Zerg. It just doesn't exist. So, but with the unique biology that I gained from the two parents, I do have chakra, but Minato would have had chakra paper and handed it to me, and he would have told me to funnel my chakra into it, and nothing happens. And Minato was like, that's weird. But then, like, the paper begins to glow, and then Minato's like, that's very, very interesting. I've never seen that happen before. So, about a month before, because he would have shown Like, Zerg aren't necessarily apt to use chakras, so yeah. But that's not saying that things change, because, yeah, Zerg constantly evolving. So a month before, he decides to, he's like, you can't use the clone jutsu. Maybe you can use this. As he shows off the shadow clone jutsu. And he shows it to me. And it takes me nearly a month. I would say a week before Naruto's birth and the Nine Tails attack, I get the grasp of the Shadow Clone Jutsu from basically what I had already learned about the normal Clone Jutsu. And I'm able to do it. I am definitely not able to do as many as what Naruto can. Definitely not. I do not have chakra reserves, but something that Minato had recognized when he started training like this child. And mind you, yes, I would still be less than a year old, but again, Zergs aren't human, so you can't really place human standards on an alien species. Like, it's kind of arrogant to think that a species from a different world would be anything like us, so. But for storytelling purposes, I'm not going to make the same emotions. They got to that point out of just pure natural evolution. Like, they have similar emotions, and Yoshimi will have human emotions, but it's not. It's kind of like Superman and the Kents. Like, yeah, Superman at heart, like Kryptonians, do have emotions similar to humans, but they can't really be judged for some of the stuff that they may say or do because they have a different mentality. The difference with Kal-El / Clark Kent and rest Kryptonians is he was actually raised as a human.